We only have one fish oil. It's in a product called BFO. The other oils that we have that are my favorite are the RPM, the CVO, and the Algae. And that's an algae-based oil. And algae is the oil that's really the parent DHA EPA, because that's what feeds krill and fish to create the omega-3s in those animals. One of the reasons that I've moved away in formulating these oils to RPM and to algae is because of the antioxidant capacities. There's two angles there, and krill is the most important, I think, of those concepts, because krill isn't just EPA, DHA, and DPA. It's in a phospholipid matrix, meaning that increases its stability. It also increases its bioavailability relative to most other fats in general, because a phospholipid can immediately merge with membranes, because that's what membranes are. They're phospholipids. So when you eat them, they can immediately become bioavailable to the membrane that it associates with. And then it can be trafficked in vesicles later. You can source great krill and great algae and fish oil. It's more expensive. You have to go through much more rigorous testing, which is what we do. And we use it. One of the tools we use is liquid chromatography mass spectrometry, which is the highest level of testing you can do. And we verify there are no breakdown products, no oxidized products in our products. One of the issues is how much we're taking. Are we living on fish oils alone and neglecting all the other oils we need, right? Because there's really beneficial ratios, and you and I have talked about communicating through our clinical advice like a 4-to-1 ratio when it comes to heart health, and maybe 6-to-1 with brain, and somewhere in that range, meaning a little more plant versus the krill or algae, right? The ratio. So you're getting slightly more of the plant-based versus the animal-based, or the krill algae. By consuming fish, shellfish, and in our world, the krill oil and the algae oil, there are amazing benefits. Should you eat large amounts of fish oil and or plant oil, because you can high amounts for long periods of time? Absolutely not. I wouldn't recommend doing anything at high doses for long periods of time. These things are not meant to be done that way. Focusing on the EPA DHA from krill or algae, though, do they have benefits at high doses for shorter periods of time? Absolutely. One of the areas that they do is in the name of RPM, resolvins, protectins, merisins. We know these EPA and DHA can be made, but they also, when you ingest them, they find their way into membranes, which is great. That's a great thing, unless you have too much for too long. But on a really concentrated, focused world, they're amazing in membranes. They do a lot of benefits. They're a lot more stable. They're a lot longer, so they have a lot more benefits in terms of their antioxidant capacity. They change the fluidity of membranes slightly. They're found in various parts of the body at higher concentrations. So whenever you have a depletion, you can always replenish using these that's the central nervous system of the brain, and also the back of the eyes. The DHA and EPA tend to be, rise in concentrations, and there's some other areas of the body that we want to replenish them. But again, it's all about balance. It's all about understanding what your patient needs and how long the patient needs it. One of the amazing things we've learned about DHA and EPA and DPA, and if you want to know more about those, you can look them up, is that they're converted by enzymes in your body, and those enzymes exist inside of white blood cells, by the way, inside the cells that create our immune system. They convert them into what we call resolvins, protectins, merisins. The name itself should tell you a little bit about them. Resolvins help resolve inflammation, and it's an amazing amount of research there. Please look it up. We have some. We've talked about it during our launch of RPM. What does that mean? That means the body uses those compounds to bring inflammation back down. If you're lacking those compounds, that response is delayed. So when we're dealing with chronic issues, I'm going to tell you, because I look at plant and fish as both being amazingly useful in clinical world. That's where krill, and I should say krill and algae because those are my favorite, that's where they become amazingly important at high doses until you can bring that back into control. And that's been shown. When you use these, you help resolve and protect the inflammatory response. You bring it back into balance. And it works very well. And it works better than plant oils. And that's just the fact. which means I go back to the fact there is a place and a time clinically that you use these oils. Absolutely. They're amazing. They're better than plant oils under these conditions. Over the long term, you cycle. You do not do what I just said for maintenance or for just ongoing health, nutritive health. You cycle. You get back to the ratios that we care about.
Okay, so let's say my patient has done RPM and Algae to help with this inflammatory cycle.
Yes.
To begin with, and then once we've gone through a necessary time period or protocol, then should I add in the other plant-based oils?
Absolutely.
To have that, to have the multiple therapies,
Yeah.
to have, to rotate products that way.
Yeah.
And how often should one rotate the products?
Depending on where they're at in their healing cycle, when early in the healing cycle and you're dealing with something chronic, you can raise those levels of the krill or the algae, get those omega-3s, the EPA, DHA, get those levels up. After you start to cycle those after a few months, I would say a few months maximum 90 days. Bring them down, get those plant oils back in at higher levels. We're more designed to have a higher plant oil diet than the krill and the fish. That's our natural design. So you want to get back to those 4-to-1, 6-to-1 ratios on the rebound. Once you're starting to get some results, then you're moving into those ratios of higher plant ratios to the algae and krill. Now, if something reoccurs, you're back on it again, but then get back down to those ratios. And like I said, there's different ways to play that ratio game. You can do it with our formulas. Like Vista is a 4-to-1 ratio naturally, and it's all plant-based. There are plant-based omega-3s, but they are different than EPA DHA, which is the krill or algae-based omega-3s, right? That's linolenic acid from plants. It's different. It can be converted, but again, that's a biochemistry that there's genetic problems there for some people. There's a lot of things it's a pathway, which is why we still recommend under conditions how to use these clinically. And I hope I've been somewhat clear. There is a time and a place, but over the long-term maintenance, as you were asking, you're going to get back to those ratios, and it's going to be a more plant-heavy or a plant-biased ratio over the long haul, the long nutritious haul. Mm-hmm. So a healthy, if you're relatively healthy, like for you, I would say, you want to stay on your 4-to-1 or even a 6-to-1. You're going to be higher in the plant oils, and you're going to get it both from diet and from our supplements. Now, I want to mention our two primary are going to be Vista 2 and Spectra 2. And we've included a number of amazing plant oils in there. It's a greater variety than you're going to get in competitive products because we've looked at those and we've compared them. We use a larger variety of oils. Furthermore, we use antioxidant oils within that. So in krill, there's astaxanthin that's built in, which is why it's orange. That's a huge antioxidant piece. We've put antioxidants into algae. And there are antioxidants in the Vista and the Spectra. That maintains the integrity of these oils because plant oils can suffer the same problem as the krill and the algae. So we've taken a lot of things into consideration in our formulas that other people don't. So please look at the labels and investigate this. We want to prove that there's a time and a place for these oils, but over the long term, we have formulas that are highly comprehensive in their oil makeup, and we've taken into consideration things like phospholipids, bioavailability, and antioxidant properties in these formulas.